2018 was a challenging year, but no matter the challenge, we've been here for you, working with you and working for you, investing in research, education, new conversations, and new opportunities in North Dakota, Washington, and across the world. Throughout 2018, we've taken the world's best corn and soybeans farther for you and your family. Today, we are here to provide tools and resources to help you tackle new challenges and reach success in 2019. Welcome to the 2019 Northern Corn and Soybean Expo. Please welcome to the stage our MC, Mark Mayfield.
Thank you. How you doing? Hey, what do you say we talk about the elephant in the room? How many's had enough of this winter so far? Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. You know, I was up here a couple of weeks ago, and I'm a Midwest guy. I'm not a North Dakota guy. But let me say this, it was a bit nipply. It was just a little chilly. And here's what I love about you guys. You wear this cold weather like a badge of honor. You're just proud of the fact. In fact, the guy I was talking to, he said, how cold did it get in Kansas City, where you're from? And I said, well, I got down to 5 below. He looked at me and did this. That's pretty good. Is it a contest? Is that the deal? It's not a contest I really want to win. I'm really kind of numb to the whole thing anyway, because the coldest day I've ever spent, I remember vividly. I was up in Duluth, Minnesota years ago, and the temperature was similar to what we had a couple weeks ago. It was 30, 31 below, something like that. The wind chill was 70 below, and it was a meeting somewhat like this, except it was a dinner affair, and I was at the dinner table, and I was across from this crusty old farmer, and I mean that in the best way. And I knew he'd probably been through a little bit, and I looked at him and I said, wow, it's cold outside. This is all he said. Yeah. They don't speak much in Duluth to conserve body heat. That's their thinking. And I said, you know, does it get cold like this very often up here? Yeah. And I said, you know, if it gets cold like this very often, you must have a lot of sick people in Duluth. He says, nope. Sick ones die. While I was up there, I actually was trying to get back, when I got done, I was trying to get back to Minneapolis to the airport. And I will say this too, they probably do the same you guys do here. You say it's gonna flurry. They said it was just gonna flurry. Just a flurry, just a little flurry. Well, it flurried for like 8 hours. It was a very serious flurry. And on the highway, going on the interstate, getting back to the airport, it was a complete whiteout. Could not see a thing. And I remember some advice my dad gave me when I was learning to drive. He said, listen, if you ever get caught in a bad snowstorm, stay the course. Just keep plugging along. Don't stop. That's the last thing you want to do. Just keep plugging along, keep staying the course, and eventually a snowplow will pass you, and then you follow the snowplow to safety. And that's exactly what happened. I'm just plodding along, and boom, snowplow passed me, and I followed that guy for hours. And hours. I just kept following him. I kept following him. Finally got out of his truck. He came back and he pounded on my window and he said, what are you doing? And I said, well, my dad said, if I ever got caught in a bad snowstorm, follow the snowplow. He said, well, all right. Listen, we're done here at Walmart. We're going to go over to Target now. See, I was in a parking lot. I didn't want to move too fast for you here. But we're kind of glad. I actually am kind of glad of the weather because we got a captive audience. I don't suppose anybody during the day is going to want to go step outside and go for a stroll. But you're not going to want to step outside anyway. We've got a terrific day planned for you. A lot of great information, a lot of great chance to network, and a lot of great chances to see some exhibitors downstairs. So to kick this off, I'd like to introduce a couple people that are going to give you a welcome. First, the Secretary of the North Dakota Soybean Council. He is a farmer of soybeans and corn over in Valley City. He farms with his father-in-law and brother-in-law. He's a graduate of Minnesota State University, Moorhead. So please welcome to the stage, Mr. Ryan Gast. Mr. Matt Gast. You look just like Ryan. Sorry. And also to help him out is a director from the North Dakota Corn Growers Association. He too farms corn and soybeans, also farms some pinto beans and some wheat. He's a graduate of the University of North Dakota. Not sure I should have said that loud. But he will be up here to give a welcome as well. Please welcome Mr. Ryan Ranzek.
On behalf of the North Dakota Soybean Council and the North Dakota Corn Utilization Council, welcome to the Northern Corn and Soybean Expo. We are building on the tremendous success of last year's first ever joint Corn and Soybean Expo and bring you an excellent lineup of speakers, panel discussions, and breakout sessions. We hope you will take in as many of today's events as you can. We know it will be worth your time, and we think you will come away from the day more informed, but also excited and optimistic about the future of agriculture. Today's Expo is possible thanks to you and your checkoff. Although we represent different crops, both councils oversee the investment of checkoff dollars into programs that increase the profitability of North Dakota farmers. The importance of these programs has never been more apparent. As Farmers First, I can assure you that the leaders who represent the two councils are first and foremost farmers. Like many of you, and we take our responsibility very seriously to focus our attention and efforts that will benefit all North Dakota corn and soybean farmers. It's not by accident that North Dakota has grown into one of the nation's leaders in both corn and soybean production. Your corn and soybean checkoff dollars are used to support important efforts including agronomic research, market development, and education for farmers, consumers, and industry. I don't need to tell you that 2018 was a very challenging year on many fronts. Trade issues were at the top of the list as some of our key markets faced disruption. Challenges with China and uncertainty with markets in Mexico and Canada drove home the importance of exports and relationships with our buyers. It also illustrated the need for ongoing development and expansion of diverse market opportunities. International and domestic market development is very important to both the corn and soybean checkoff councils. About 94% of our soybeans and over 80% of our corn and value-added products and byproducts leave the state. That's why we focus on building and supporting relationships with our international and domestic customers. Partnerships with organizations like the U.S. Grains Council and the U.S. Soybean Export Council extend our reach well beyond the state borders. Corn farmers in the state produced an estimated 444 million bushels of corn and over 230 million bushels of soybeans in 2018. As farmers, we face many production challenges due to disease, weather conditions, like snow in October, and pests that can limit our productivity. Both councils place agronomic research as a high priority. We invest checkoff funds to support research at places like NDSU so that North Dakota farmers can continue to be as efficient, productive, and profitable as possible. We work hard to make sure that valuable and unbiased information gets into the hands of farmers. Data and research do no good if left on the shelf. That's why our councils work to get information in the hands of farmers through events, publications, web resources, and more. More than ever, today's consumers have little to no connection to agriculture. This is our opportunity and responsibility to share agriculture's story. We do that through events and outreach to non-farm audiences throughout the year. Events like Living Ag Classroom visits with 4th grade students across the state, Banquet in a Field through Common Ground, Red River Zoo events, and more. Give us a chance to connect to non-farmers, to the men and women of North Dakota who produce their food, feed, fiber, and fuel. Animal agriculture is an important focus for both councils. Having consistent markets for our commodities that are close to home is a plus for corn and soybean farmers. Growth in North Dakota's livestock industry would have many positive impacts on the state and the economy and is an effort we support. While corn is a vital feed ingredient for that livestock, it is so much more. Corn-based ethanol in North Dakota gives people a choice. Ethanol offers an environmentally safe product that also offers motorists a cost savings fuel for their vehicles. 40 to 60% of North Dakota's annual corn crop is converted into ethanol in the state's 5 ethanol plants. Corn ethanol has helped the entire state's economy and our bottom line as farmers. Like ethanol, biodiesel presents an alternative fuel that is environmentally safe and adds to the value of the state's soybeans. Research shows that biodiesel adds 63 cents in value of every bushel of soybeans grown in the U.S. The North Dakota Soybean Council partners with National Biodiesel Board and MegCorp to support U.S. biodiesel production while working to increase awareness among consumers and industry professionals. North Dakota corn and soybean farmers face many of the same issues and challenges, and many of us raise both crops. It's only logical that we as boards and as organizations collaborate as much as possible because we share the goal of enhancing and sustaining North Dakota agriculture. The North Dakota Soybean Council and North Dakota Corn Council are made up of elected North Dakota farmer leaders who dedicate their time and energy to better our industry. It is a commitment, and without the devotion of farmer leaders, North Dakota agriculture would not be where it is today. So at this time, I'd like all the North Dakota Soybean Council and Corn Council directors in attendance to please stand and be recognized. Thank you, gentlemen, for your service. Our organizations are made up of farmers like you who devote time and energy to benefit all of us. On January 30th, we lost a special member of our North Dakota soy family. Board Director Mike Muse of Langdon passed away after a battle with cancer, and we extend our deepest condolences to the Muse family. Mike was a very kind man who was always ready with a smile. He was also a dedicated board member who admirably represented his fellow soybean producers in Northeast North Dakota. Our thoughts and prayers are with his wife Cheryl, his children Jake, Danny, Andy, and Lizzie, his parents Bill and Kathy, and his entire family. Mike will truly be missed. Now I'll turn the program over to Ryan Wanzik.
Thanks, Matt. As a grower of both corn and soybeans, I'm excited to participate in this combined effort of the Corn and Soybean Councils and Associations. Today's program is packed with valuable and timely information to help you make the best decisions for your operation. Along with the educational opportunities available at the Northern Corn and Soybean Expo, we are pleased to have over 80 organizations exhibiting in our trade show. We have dedicated breaks for you to visit these exhibitors throughout the day, so please take the time to talk to them and learn what they can offer for you and your operation to help your bottom line. The Corn and Soybean Growers Associations are grassroots organizations that work on public policy issues affecting you and your farming operation. Both groups are affiliated with national organizations. As a member of the North Dakota Corn Growers Association, you are also a member of the National Corn Growers Association. Likewise, North Dakota Soybean Growers Association members are also members of the American Soybean Association. Both of these groups represent over 300,000 growers of each commodity in the United States. Why is this important? As grassroots organizations working on public policy issues, we have power in numbers, not just in North Dakota, but also in the United States. Our associations work on growing leaders to advocate for agriculture before our policymakers. Our directors take part in national leadership training to better their skills and gain confidence at the legislature and on Capitol Hill. The role of our associations is to add a voice to our membership's needs, advocate for farmer-friendly public policy at a state and national level, and giving growers through our organizations a voice to answer the critics of ag. I would like to highlight important work that both of our organizations are working on in the state and national levels. On the national level, public policy related to farm programs, crop insurance, trade, and conservation. On the state level, legislation affecting infrastructure such as roads and bridges, research and extension service, and water management. In addition to this, we monitor Farm Bill implementation, year-round E15 implementation, and biodiesel production. When working on these issues, numbers matter and one voice can make a difference. We thank all of you who are members for our associations, and if you aren't a member, we ask others to join us so that we can use a larger voice to make change. Like the Corn and Soybean Councils, the Corn and Soybean Growers Associations are made up of farmer leaders who dedicate their time and energy to better our industry. At this time, I'd like all of the North Dakota Corn Growers Association and Soybean Growers Association directors in attendance to stand and be recognized. Thank you, gentlemen, for your service. On January 3rd, we lost our executive director and friend, Dale Irie. Dale worked tirelessly for agriculture his entire career. At this time, we would like to take a moment and remember Dale.
My name is Dale Irie. I'm the Executive Director of the North Dakota Corn Council and the North Dakota Corn Growers. Although we're sparsely populated, we are proud to live in North Dakota and hope you'll consider visiting us someday.
There's always hope in North Dakota.
There is hope in North Dakota, and I come from it, Hope,
Yeah,
North Dakota.
exactly.
Great small town, and I'm known as a kid from rural Blaben, which is between Hope and Findlay. Not a city slicker. I don't know if anybody lives in Blaben.
Blaben?
Blaben, right. Little village off the road between Hope and Findlay.
You worked with people from all different sides of the political aisle, and now you're still out here promoting what farmers need promoted when it comes to ethanol. How much fun is this?
It's a lot of fun. You know, I enjoyed being on the federal side of life for over 30 years and helping farmers be able to participate in farm programs in a common sense way. But it's also had a lot of fun on the corn industry now. Working on the other side of the fence when we go meet with the feds. Now I can kind of call their mark. You know, if they're trying to zoom us a little too much, I can raise the eyebrow a little bit and call them on some of their chatter. But it's a lot of fun working for farmers directly and trying to make a difference. And I'm a big partnership guy. That's how you move the needle. And we have a great amount of partners around the state.
Good to talk to you.
Always. Thanks, Joe.
Good to
Thanks for
see
being
you.
here.
Why don't you recognize all of the directors, the gentlemen that we have lost in this last year, and thank them for their service with a nice round of applause. I want to start by asking a simple question. How many of you have a problem? About half of you didn't understand that question, did you? That was my fault. I used a terrible word, problem. Let's use a better word. How many of you don't have a problem, but you have some form of stress? Who's got stress? Come on, get those hands up. You know what I'm talking about. But we still don't have all the hands up, so let me rephrase this one more time. How many of you don't have stress, but you are a carrier? Everybody put your fingers right here. Do this. Put your fingers right here. How many of you have a pulse? Folks, I need all the hands up here. I do. I need a live audience. If you have a pulse, guess what you have? Stress. Somebody said a heart, so we've got a livestock producer over there apparently. If you have stress, it's because you have a pulse. It's because you're living. It's because you have a problem, and problems aren't bad. And that's why you're here. We're going to talk about those problems and try to fix them. You know, actually, problems are a byproduct of success. It means you've done something right in the past. Look at it this way. You have a problem. You fix it. That gives you a new scenario, a new set of issues, a new set of problems. So you fix those. Gives you a new scenario, new set of issues, new set of problems. Problems are a byproduct of success. There's only one place in the world you can go where you have people that don't have problems. That's a cemetery. And that's it. So we're going to talk about some of those things and hopefully give you a handle on how to deal with them. But I know another one of your issues or another one of your problems. You're asking yourself, why am I up here? Who is this guy? That's a fair question. Any audience can legitimately ask that question, so let me resolve those fears if you have them. First of all, I do know a little bit about human behavior. I did go to college. I graduated from Kansas State University, also known as North Dakota State University. If you're a football fan, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I crammed 4 years of education into 9. I can wait longer than you can. I know that's an old joke, and there's a reason I tell it. It's because I have 2 daughters that were on the same accelerated program. That's called payback, folks. In fact, somebody asked me the other day, they said, what's Lindsay? She's my youngest. They said, what's Lindsay going to be when she gets out of school? I said, about 65. I learned a lot there, but that's not where I learned what I know about life. And this is the most important thing you need to know about me. I was raised on a hog and cattle operation in southeast Kansas. I'm a farm kid. And every time I tell an agriculture audience that, there's always a couple people out there that look at me with an eye of doubt. Like they think I'm just making this up because it sounds warm and wholesome and I can connect and I'm kissing up to the audience. I can prove I was raised on a farm because I know where farm fathers go to discipline their children. Now, you've heard the stories or you've been there. Where do they go? Behind the shed, behind the barn. I spent a large portion of my adolescence behind the barn because I was an ornery farm boy. On our farm, if you saw a cat with a tail on it, you knew he was a visitor. I'm kidding. I love cats. That's a joke. That's a joke. I do. I love cats. They taste like chicken. Anyway, that's a joke. Most vivid memory I have of going behind the barn. I was 13 years old. I got caught smoking a cigarette. Dad wanted to kill me. Mom said, well, why don't you beat on him for a while first? So out behind the barn we went. To teach me a lesson, he did not lay a hand on me, but he made me smoke an entire carton of unfiltered Camel cigarettes. Wow. I was sick for 2 days. I wish Dad would have caught me with a woman. That'd have been a better deal, I think. I'm not sure. I'm not sick yet, Dad. Send one more in. Well, you haven't, no, I have not learned my lesson. Keep bringing them in. So that's my background. It's important to know, too, that I taught ag for a couple of years. I'm an old FFA guy. I was a lobbyist for agriculture for 10 years. But here's something that you really need to know about me. I'm happily married. My wife's not. Very important distinction. That's okay. She's good with that. Why? Because she has me trained. Completely trained. Can't do anything on my own anymore. Don't know anything anymore. You know, one time in my life, I was this strong, independent, virile, thoroughbred. I'm just an old, broken-down, swayback Shetland pony. How many Shetland ponies we got out there? This is a whole room of Shetland ponies. Yeah. You know, I've kind of brought her up. I need to, I guess, finish this part of the story. Right now, I'm in a little bit of a riff, and maybe I could get some input from you guys during the course of the day. I really don't know what to do. A lot of times, because of what I do, I get to go places I would never go. And recently, I had an engagement in the Virgin Islands. Had no clue where that was. Figured it was in the water. That's the best I know. My wife's going to go with me. We're going to make an anniversary trip out of it. We're going to spend a few extra days. It's going to be great. But then, long story short, all sorts of things happened. I had other work, and she had family issues and weather and yada, yada. I have to go by myself, and I was in St. Thomas for a total of 12 hours. That's not the way you want to go. I got in there after midnight. I spoke in the morning, out by noon. But as I'm leaving, I want my wife to know that I'm so disappointed we couldn't pull this trip off, and that I was thinking of her. So I took my camera phone, and I snapped a picture of the beach. Yeah, it was so bright. It was really bright, but I could still hear the ocean crashing. And I remember the night before, the rocks jutting to the moonlight, and I snapped this picture, and I sent it to her in a text that said, "Wish you were here." Thoughtful, sweet, romantic. Let me tell you how I screwed that up. When I took the picture, I did not know, because the sun was so bright that on the beach was a woman. And I don't know how to describe her to you, other than to say, smoking hot, nearly naked. That'd be the best way. I'm from Kansas. We say naked. I don't know what to say up here. But I did not know. I swear to you, I did not know. I just snapped the picture, and I sent the text, "Wish you were here." Somehow, I left the E off of here. A lot of speakers stand in front of audiences, and they tell stories, and that's just what they are. I wish that was a made-up story. But here's the thing, I've sent this, and I'm so proud of myself. I've done such a wonderful thing, a thoughtful thing, and all I get back from my wife is a text that says, "What?" That's literally what my phone did. It just went, "What?" And I thought, well, now, why would she say that when I've been so thoughtful? Before I could correct, I got another text back from her. And all it said was this: "I'll get even." What does that mean? I have not known for months, and I've been scared to death. I'd walk down the street, I'd hear a strange noise, get kind of jumpy, didn't know. And then I found out, because yesterday I got a phone call. My wife has been nominated for the Visa Hall of Fame. You understand what I'm talking about there, right? Yeah, okay. No, I'm kidding. My wife and I have a spectacular relationship. I mean, first time we met, there was just a spark, you know. Okay, well, that was the taser. But I knew, and I figured out how to make it work. And here's the first piece of salient advice I will pass along to the people in the room. Principally, you guys. I figured out how to make it work. I don't try to run her life, and I don't try to run mine. Bam. So, write her down. That may be the most valuable piece of information you get today. Secondly, I've been doing this a long time. And I know that I'm going to talk about change and morphing and adapting, and that's what I've had to do. I know that now when you do a program, there's not an option. You must have, you have to have PowerPoint. It's not an option. So we're going to do PowerPoint. This is how I feel about it. People who know what they're talking about don't need it. But you just have to do it. It's the law of the land. This is the start of my PowerPoint. This shows you right now that I know PowerPoint. It's got color, it's got a border, and a nifty font. Shabam. I know PowerPoint. PowerPoint should start with a pie chart. I think a pie chart should be about pie. It just makes sense to me. My favorite pie is cherry, of course. Rhubarb's a surprising third. A lot of people would not have got that. You've got to have something that's clear, that the audience can see and discern and interpret without a question. There's only one way to make this better, and that is to make it blurry, so the audience will focus. Okay, this is not what you do. This is exactly opposite. You don't start with something like this. You have to open with a slide that will engage the audience, that raptures their attention. They cannot take their eyes off of it, and that's why the most important slide that I will show you today is a picture of my grandkids. On the count of three, I want to hear aw. 1, 2, 3. Ah, there they are. Little Delaney on the left, she is my little princess. She has both hands wrapped around Papa's heart. She can say anything, do anything, it's fine. She can make fun of me, it's fine. She can make fun of my age, it's fine. She asked me the other day if I was a pilgrim. She told me my hair was running out of ink. It's okay. And I added a new one. Not too long ago, I was helping her just the other day with her homework. And I asked her this question. What was Sir Walter Francis Drake known for? And she said, he circumcised the world. I said, no, honey, he circumnavigated. He circumnavigated the world. And she said, well, what does it mean what I said? Yeah, you're going to need to talk to your mom about that. I'm out of this conversation. Little Archer is her little brother. He's a little stud. Doesn't he look like it? His dad was a 4-time state wrestling champ. I think he's going to be the same. He's Mr. Matter of Fact. He just sees things just in a matter-of-fact sense. He talked to me the other day, and he knew that I actually am a cat lover. I kidded earlier. I lost my cat of 19 years the other day, and one of the best friends I ever had never judged me, which was different than most people in my life. And he asked me, he said, how's Eddie, Papa? How's Eddie doing? And I said, well, Archer, Eddie didn't make it, and Eddie went to heaven. And he just paused. Why does God want a dead cat? Ain't got an answer for that either, son, I don't. Then I got the twins. I got Everett and Reed. They're the twins. Everett, middle name's Mark. My name's Mark. His name's Mark. Got the same name. I don't know if you deduced that or not. Smart little tyke. Looks like Mr. Peabody, doesn't he? He's in kindergarten. They move him to the 4th grade class for reading and math. Smartest little guy I've ever seen. He can do deductive reasoning. He's got the communication skill of a 15-year-old. He, I think, is going to be a lawyer. Reed is going to need a lawyer. Yeah, don't be caught off guard by that cheeky grin and that cute smile. That's he's ornery as snot. Sometimes he's so ornery he can't even make it in bed at night. He's just exhausted from pulling pranks. And he's the one I know that came up with this next idea. My daughter is folding clothes, and she hears the door open and sees this. Folks, that's not the backyard, that's street side. School buses coming by, people coming home from work. Let me just say this about that. There's a guy that was raised on a farm that has their grandpa. I'm so dang proud of those boys. And that concludes my PowerPoint. So we're done with the PowerPoint. We got that over with. We don't have to do that anymore. All right. Here's a serious question I want to ask you. How many of you people in the room hate change? What is this, a meeting of the National Liars Club? 7 of you? That was my fault. I used a terrible word again. Hate maybe was too strong a word. Let me rephrase this question. How many of you people think most of the people in this room hate change? There you go. You know what? It's okay. Admit it. We fight change. It's normal. All of society and every human being on the planet fights change. I think agriculture fights it more because we have such a sense of traditionalism and sentimentalism. We appreciate the people that came before us, what they have done. Somehow if we change what they did, we're disrespecting them. I think that's a subconscious feel. We struggle with it. It's okay to hate change. Here's the biggest reason you hate change. You're a creature of habit. I couldn't say anything more unprofound in my time up here. We're all creatures of habit. Don't tell me you're not. Just to prove, do you know you put the same shoe or boot on first every morning? In fact, tomorrow morning, put the other shoe or the other boot on first. They'll screw up your whole day. Do you know you comb your hair in exactly the same place starting? You finish in the same place. Some of you get done way faster than the rest of us. You use exactly the same number of strokes, habit. You ladies, when you comb your hair, did you know you will use almost exactly the same number of strokes every time? Here's something you never thought of. When you put your slacks on, you do it out of habit. I'm a left leg painter myself. I do it the same way every stinking time. And I know you've seen this done, but humor me. I'm trying to make a point. Everybody, interlock your fingers, fold your hands. Do not move them. Do not pull them apart. Do that. Now look down and see which thumb's on top. Keep it that way. The thumb that is on top has nothing to do with whether you're male, female, East Coast, West Coast, rural, urban, corn, beans. It's habit. You started doing this when you were 2 years old. Never changed it. When I say go, I want you to pull your hands apart, move your fingers one notch so the other thumb is on top. Go. That'll give you the back willies, won't it? Get back to where it's comfortable. I don't want to screw up your day. Fold your arms. Don't move them. What if I just stood at the door when you walked in? And I said, when you fold your arms, which arm's on top? Could you have told me? Not without doing it. Yet you've been doing this when you were 2 as well. In fact, when I say go, I want you to refold your arms so the other arm is on top. Are you ready? Look down and go. Now that'll be a traveling call. That'll be bison ball. It's really not that hard. All you gotta do is move one arm. I don't know if you, shake it out, shake it out, shake it out. I'm gonna tell you something about yourself. Fold your arms. There's a guy in Stanford that has studied all sorts of human idiosyncrasies. One of them is the way you fold your hands, fold your arms. He says that if your right arm is on top, right arm people, let me see you. If your right arm is on top, you have the potential to become a great thinker. Key word, potential. Don't get too excited. Who's got the left arm on top? Left arm? I'm a left arm person. If your left arm is on top, that same guy, he says you and I, we are sexy. Now, some of you didn't play along with this game. Raise your hand either time. Does that mean you think you're sexy? Is that the deal? I don't know. I don't care how you fold your hands. I don't care how you fold your arms. I don't care which boot you put on first. That's why you fight change. Okay, my mind just jumped to another place. I read this just yesterday. Got to do this. Everybody, hold your hand up like this. I want you to look at your index finger and your ring finger. They're not the same length. They're close. They're very close. But some of you have your ring finger longer. Some of you have your index finger longer. A study of 12,000 people, Swedish folks, found that if your ring finger is longer than your index finger, you have a stronger sex drive. Now, some of you are sitting out there going, what in the world does this have to do with managing change? Absolutely nothing. I just want you all to know that my ring finger is longer, and it's significant. I don't know if you can tell. It's... Sorry, my mind drifted off there to another place. It shouldn't have gone. The first step in change management is admit the fact it's not easy. It will be extremely difficult at times. Second step in the change management process, suck it up. Because it won't go away. It can't. Change is a function of two things. I got a simple mind, I break stuff down. Change is a function of information and time, period. As long as information and time march on, there is an unavoidable consequence, and that is change. And by the way, you want those two things to move on. You want information and time to march on. We want information to move on because we want to be smarter tomorrow than we were today. Nobody's going to debate that. Otherwise, we're not going to fix the problems of today. So we want information to move. We want to know more tomorrow than we do today. We also want time to move on. We don't want time to stop. If time stopped right now, here's the last thing that went through your head. You learned something about yourself you really didn't care to learn. As long as time and information move on, there is an unavoidable consequence. We have to figure out how we deal with it. And in agriculture, we've got some serious issues of change that we have to deal with. One of them is we just have to change our mindset. You know, for the longest time in American history, we didn't have to worry about anything. Everybody else took care of us. They took care of our issues because they were us, or they saw how important we were. We've got to change our mindset on this. This came across my desk the other day. I have to read it to you. It's an article from the Humane Society of the Northwest, Humane Society of the USA, 2100 I Street Northwest, Washington, D.C. That's Disneyland East. And I'm going to read to you, it's a very technical term they use. I hope this doesn't go over anybody's head. Pigs. I'm going to read you what they say about pigs. Breeding sows are subjected to even worse privation. This could get real sad for some of you. Tethered in small spaces, without even the minimal comfort of straw bedding or a large stall. The sows are so affected by the lack of stimulation that many suffer from obesity. There's something you've never seen, it's a fat sow. Now, I'm glad you're sitting down to absorb this next statement because it's heavy. Boars, you know what they are. That's what I am right now. Boars and breeding sows should be allowed at least visual contact with one another to avoid social deprivation stresses. I think this is the perfect time for me to make an announcement. I raised hogs for a long time, got out of the hog business. A lot of people wonder why I got out of the hog business. Was it just because the industry changed? Some people think it's because I changed careers, economic conditions. No. I got out of the hog business because I couldn't take it anymore. I'd walk down to the fair and barn and I see them socially deprived sows. I pulled into Fargo last night and the first thing I saw was a sow walking down the street looking for visual contact with a boar. It was so sad. It was so sad. I'm kidding about this. Kinda. This did come across my desk 35 years ago. Did they go away? They didn't go away. A lot of us sat around and thought somebody else would take care of this for us. They'll come to their senses. All they've done is grow, become more vocal, form more coalitions, convince more people. It didn't go away. We have to change our mindset that this is going to go away. We don't have the numbers. I don't have to go into the 435 congressional seats, and there's only 5 of them that are really rural districts. I don't have to do that to explain to you that the communication job is our job. We've got to change our mindset. We've got to change the way that we look at technology, too. Now, this is kind of a double-edged sword here because we're actually good at it. I have to compliment everybody in this room and the industry of agriculture. We've done well in certain areas. And we start talking about precision agriculture and, sensors and telematics and who knows whatever, drones, the list goes on and on. We're adapting to technological advances. We're doing good. But there's one area where we've been a little slow on the uptake. And we can't ignore that anymore because it's part of the game. I was driving up to Fargo years ago, and I'll never forget this. Every time I come to Fargo, I remember I was driving up from Kansas City. I'm actually a driver. I like to do that, prefer flying. I may talk about that shortly, how I hate to fly. So I'm driving up here, and I'm bouncing around on my satellite radio and just bouncing from channel to channel. And I found a talk show. And on the talk show, the Food Babe was on this talk show. Now, I don't know how many of you know the Food Babe or you follow her. You ought to follow her on Twitter just to see some of the nonsense she says and some of the information she talks about with regards to your industry. But I listened for a while, and I followed her for quite a while, and I thought, this is a call-in. I'm going to call in. Because I'm driving. I've got another 4 hours to Fargo, wherever it was on the road. So I called in, and I got right in. And they said, this is the Food Babe show. What's your name? We're going to put you on hold, put you in the queue. I thought, well, I don't even want to use my real name. So I said, my name is Sebastian. Always wanted to be a Sebastian. And so, hold, Sebastian, and we'll get to you soon. And I thought, no, that won't be the case. I'm still driving around the road. And then all of a sudden on my headset, I hear, this is the Food Babe. Hi, Sebastian, how are you? I'm like caught off guard. She said, do you have a question? Yeah, Food Babe. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Thought that would be a good way to start. And I said, hey, I just want a clarification on something because I follow your tweets and I know what's going on there. And I said, you just clarify something. You said that if I was confused about our food supply, if there was an ingredient in there that I couldn't pronounce or I didn't know what it was, that I should avoid it altogether. She said, absolutely, that's correct. I think that's an excellent rule of thumb. If you can't pronounce it, if you don't know what it is, you should avoid it because it's probably a toxin. They're poisoning our food supply. So I said, well, I thought that's what you said. So I got a question because I've got a product here and I'm reading the label and it's got a lot of dihydrogen monoxide. And I don't know what that is. She said, well, I'd have to look it up. I don't know what it is either, but you need to avoid that right now. I wouldn't even purchase that product. You shouldn't have bought it. It's probably a toxin. You don't need it. Just don't eat that. Whatever you do not consume that. Dihydrogen monoxide. Remember your chemistry class? Di, 2, hydrogen, mono, 1, oxygen, H, 2, O. I said, well, Food Babe, I got to come clean. My name's really not Sebastian. I prefer not to give you my real name because you got more Twitter followers than I do. But dihydrogen monoxide is just water. You just told me that I shouldn't consume water. And unless I'm mistaken, I think it's the basic sustenance for life. And there's this pause on the end. And she said, you tricked me. You set me up for that question. I said, yeah, I did. Do you know how I could set you up? Because you're an idiot, that's how. If you call the host of a radio show an idiot, guess what? You get disconnected. Quickly. The Food Babe, her blog, last count, was over 54 million views. 54 million views. She has over 100,000 Twitter followers. Her Facebook page has over 1 million likes. She's using technology. A lot of people like her are using that technology. We've been a little slow on the uptake here. I'm not saying that everybody needs to try to be a Kardashian and try to generate that kind of a following or whatnot. By the way, I shouldn't have mentioned that because my mind here again drifted off. I just read something the other day. Did you know that Kim Kardashian has a book out? I'm not kidding you. She has a book out. It's called Selfish. And it's a book of her selfies, her favorite selfies. It's one of the phenomena in life. She has 230 million Twitter followers, 230 million Twitter followers throughout the world. And in this book, there's a foreword, and I did not buy the book, I just read this. There's a foreword that says, this is a book of my favorite selfies. I wish that I had a selfie in here. It's the one selfie I wish I had and I don't. It would be a picture of a selfie with Jesus. And to that I say, didn't he suffer enough? How did I get on the Kardashians? What was I doing? Oh, yeah, I was talking about social media. I was talking about that form of technology. We're really good with technology when it comes to equipment, machinery, and that sort of stuff. Crop production, sometimes we forget about another aspect of technology. We're getting better, but we got to improve our game. We got to pick up our game. We got to change. I thought about that. What I'm basically talking about is our communication. You know, for years I have stood in front of groups and said, the best people to tell the story of agriculture are the people in agriculture. And sometimes we've relied on others to do that. And we have to do more of it. So I've been trying to take advantage of that as much as I can. I was on a plane the other day with a vegan. Actually, I thought it was just a vegetarian. I'll explain the difference here in a minute. I didn't know. I figured she was a vegetarian because I hopped on the plane and I had to crawl over her, and I saw her eating out of a baggie of sticks and twigs. Now, first of all, I have nothing against vegetarians. I do not. I just prefer my vegetables to be fed to a steer so they become a steak. Who's with me on this? Anybody? That's what I thought. Okay, all right. My problem with vegetarians is this, is that some of them are so condescending, they think they have a little higher level of intellect than we do because they're smart enough to only eat vegetables. And I respect their opinion. I just want them to respect my opinion. So I sat down next to this vegetarian, and then she lit into me. And the reason is because she saw I had food. Because I had raced to get on that plane, and I had stopped at that 5-star restaurant, Nathan's Hot Dogs. I love hot dogs, I do. I have no problem saying that, because I like all of my meat stuffed together in a tube to eat at once. I sat down with this foot-long hot dog. She looked at me and she said, seriously? You're gonna eat that in front of me? Well, I was gonna. Why, do you want some? Is that the point of this conversation? I'll share. It's foot long. She said, do you have any idea what's in there? I said, I got a pretty good idea. She said, well, it will kill you. Do you know, have you had your cholesterol checked lately? I said, yeah, as a matter of fact, I did. They found cheese. They did. I'm a farm kid. Well, we got into a lengthy conversation because she didn't know that I'd been working in the food and agriculture industry my entire life, and so we started talking. And I said, first of all, before you go any further, and by the way, I should tell you, her name was Connie, which I think was an abbreviation for condescending, because that's the way she spoke to me. And she said, well, you just don't know anything about food production or food industry. And I said, hello, let's talk. I said, first of all, just as to give an example how specific things I know, that little bag of sticks and twigs that you're eating, you got some celery in there. Do you know that little stick of celery? To consume that is going to take 6 calories, yet it only has 4 calories in it. That's why it's such a great diet food. In fact, if you do nothing but eat celery, you will eventually disappear. I said, let's talk about one of the basic food groups. Let's do that. Chocolate. That is one of the 5 basic. Yeah? Yes? Yeah, I thought so. Okay. I said, listen, lady, chocolate, which I happen to have 2 bars in my bag right then I was getting ready to launch into. Chocolate, follow along here, comes from a cacao bean. A cacao bean comes from a tree. A tree is a plant. Therefore, chocolate is salad. Who else is with me on this? Yeah, okay, all right. Well, you can imagine the debate didn't go on very well. Then here's why. Because she was not just a vegetarian, as I said, she was a vegan. And that's a whole nother level. Now, if you don't know what a vegan is someone who does not eat anything that is or is derived from flavor. And this is how the conversation on veganism started. I said, you know, vegan, you probably didn't know this. It's an old Latin word that means bad hunter. Healthy conversation we had, yeah. I said I respect you. I just want you to respect me, that's all. And then, not a surprise, guess what other organization she was actively involved in? PETA. We started talking about animal welfare and animal rights. I said, first of all, lady, you don't understand that when you're in production agriculture, when you're in animal production, the most important thing to you is their welfare because it converts to profitability. I said, I care about their welfare more than you do, I bet. So we had this big hearty debate. And then I said, I am so concerned about this. I said, that's even the way I treat my pets. I'm concerned about their welfare too. And she sat back and she said, what did you say? And I said, I'm concerned about my pets too. Don't you ever say that word. I said, what word? Say it again. I said, pets. Don't you say that word. I said, why? She said, that is a horrible word. It's demeaning. It belittles that creature. You need to say animal companion. It's not a pet. It's animal companion. The worst word you can say to an animal companion is pet. I said, no, entree. That'd be a worse word. In fact, if your dog's name is Entree, I'm not coming to your house for dinner. I'm going to tell you right now. You know, by the way, this is how it kind of ended. The conversation really wasn't going anywhere. We just kept butting heads, and finally I just said, oh, well, I respect your opinion, and this is how I ended it. And if you want to really mess with an animal welfarist, animal rightist, or a PETA member, here's what you do. Always carry these with you. Eat a box of animal crackers. Because they don't have a clue what to do. They want to be angry, but there's a metaphor here. They struggle with that. They're flummoxed completely. Did I change your mind? Probably not. Probably never will. She's way over there. But we got a whole lot of people in the middle that we need to communicate with. We've kind of forgot about them. I saw the slides too. We're getting better at this. But we've got to ramp up those efforts like never before. When 70% of the American public thinks that all food comes from just a handful of large corporate farms, and there's no such thing as a family farmer anymore. When 70% of the American public believes that, and they don't know that of the 2 million farms out there, 98% of them are family, maybe corporations, but family operations. We haven't been telling our story enough. We haven't been talking enough. When most kids have no clue where food comes from, they just think it comes from the store, we need to amp up our efforts. We have failed. I'm sorry if that hurts your spine. I have failed. We all have. Kind of assumed somebody else would do this for us, didn't we? I came from the same programs you did. A natural, inherent respect for agriculture. We have failed. But that's okay. We failed a lot. We fail all the time. How many people in this room have never made a mistake in their production? Never made the wrong call on a planting date or time. Never, ever made the wrong call on a marketing process, whether to hedge or not. Never outguessed the weather wrong. Who has never made a mistake with respect to your production? Yet, here we are. We recover from mistakes all the time, and this one we have to recover from. We've got to get more involved in education. We've got to get more involved in communication. We've got to get more involved in the media. We've got to get more involved in Washington, D.C. We've got to get more involved in our state houses. No one else is going to do this for us. You may think I'm going to launch into some political conversation. Not going to do that. I was a lobbyist for 10 years. I'm not going to tell any political jokes, even though I could. I'm the one person in this room that could. Why? Because as a lobbyist, I had to work both sides of the aisle. I had to be completely objective, completely unbiased. I'm not even a member of any organized political party. I'm Republican. I know that's an old Will Rogers line, but I had to use it. Now I've irritated half of you probably. So let's be fair. I've got a buddy who's a huge wheat producer in western Kansas. We went to college together at K-State. And I always call him up after harvest. And a couple years ago, I called him and said, hey, buddy, how'd harvest go? And he said, awful. I said, what? What do you mean awful? I said, I saw all the crop reports, record harvest. What happened? He said, well, turns out we had a bunch of Democrat wheat. Okay, I'll bite. What is Democrat wheat? He said, great big heads, but nothing in them. Is everybody mad now? Everybody angry? Okay. I don't do political jokes. I'm not going to tell political jokes. I don't care which side of the aisle you're on. We got to talk to them. We can't assume they know. This is the paradox in agriculture. This is a true paradox. When people are surveyed, whether you're in a legislative arena or whether you're just in the public, when they are surveyed, they have and put us in high respect. They love us. They know we're hardworking, we're solid, we're good, and we're decent. They have high regard for us, and yet have no clue. A lot of them still picture us in overalls with a straw out of the corner of our mouth. They don't know that we got geneticists and scientists, soil scientists, animal scientists. They don't have any clue. They don't know we're computer experts, IT experts. They don't have any clue. They have great regard for us, yet they have no clue who we are. And the only way we can fix that is by talking. It's our job. You got to get more involved with your commodity organizations, more involved with your community. And I know I'm preaching to the choir. I get it. You're here. You need to go out there and become an advocate and get other people here next year and get other people involved in your commodity organizations. It's our job. Basically what I'm saying is we've got to get a little more creative. And there are 3 responses to change. I don't know if you're aware of this. You got 3 options here. We can't ignore this. We can. That's an option. Ignore change. I'm serious. Flat ignore it. You know anybody doing that? Sure you do. You know, people that roughly put in their 8 to 5, come home, stimulate their mind by watching a Wheel of Fortune, drink a 6-pack of beer, belch, go to bed. That's their whole life right there. You ask them, how do you deal with change? Their answer? Well, I just put a cup on the dresser. Do we need to break into study groups on that one? That was pretty subtle, wasn't it? Yeah, that wasn't the best. Pocket change is the only change they know. You know who these people are. That's the way we've always done it. We're just going to keep doing it that way. You can ignore change. It's a legitimate response. How do I know that? About 40% of the public, that's exactly what they're doing. They ignore change. Now let me, in the interest of full disclosure, say, sometimes you do ignore it. Yeah, you do. Sometimes you do. If it has absolutely nothing to do with you, your personal life, your professional life, your industry, the internet, if it has nothing to do with you, why are you fretting about it and worrying about it? You got enough on your plate already. But be careful. We are in a global society. Everything, virtually everything affects us. Anchovies not breeding off the coast of China and creating food shortages someplace. It affects us. Everything affects us. You can ignore change. That's an option. Option number 1. Here's your second option. React. Just react. Don't be proactive. Let's just wait and see what's thrown in our lap. Now, I'll be honest with you. In agriculture, there's a lot of times you don't have an option because you have to react. Because there's no way that you could have predicted weather situations or international issues that affected global trade or what. There's a lot of things that you have to react to, you can't plan for, but you need to be proactive where you can. We need to start planning for some of these things and knowing what's going to happen when this depression, recession, whatever it is, may occur. We have to be proactive, not just reactive. My dad had a saying when I was growing up. I love this saying. It's one of my favorites. The head dog is the only sled dog that gets a different view. Folks, I can't explain all these. You're going to have to, work in pairs, whatever. If all you do is react, if you react really fast, you'll probably survive. You probably will. You'll hang in there. But if that's all you do, Second place is the best you'll hope for. You're just going to be hanging on. So here's the third response. Create change. Create change. This sounds like an oxymoron. I know it does. But to manage change, you create change. And if you look at anybody in this industry that's done well, whether it is a producer or whether it's an exhibitor that you're going to see downstairs that's done well, if you see those that are doing well during times of rapid change, I guarantee you they disrupted things and they created change. I want to give you an example, and I love to give this example to ag audiences because it has nothing to do with ag. And I think that's the problem sometimes. We look too internal. Sometimes we need to look outside of our industry to learn, to get new ideas. I'm not saying you steal intellectual property, but we can get ideas from other places. I mean, all of society's done that. You know, fast food restaurants didn't come up with drive-thrus. Banks had them for a long time. My grocery store has a kiosk where I can check out by myself. Gas stations have had that for a long time. Sometimes we need to look outside of the industry to get an idea that may apply to us, or at least a technique. I'm an expert in very, very few things. I'm certainly not in your business anymore. I can talk about it, but I would not stand up here and profess to say I know more about soybean production or corn production than you people do, and that's why I admire you so much. In fact, I never raised it growing up. We were strictly a livestock operation. But there is one place where I do consider myself an expert. And that's because I've been doing this for 50 years. And that's air travel. I know air travel. Oh, yes, I do. I've outlived a whole lot of airlines. I have watched them. I have watched some succeed and some fail. And I have watched one of the greatest morphings of a business in an industry that you could ever, as I watched Southwest Airlines come from the beginning to the leader in the industry. And how did they do it? They created change. Now, by the way, when I talk about flying, I'm not doing this from a proud standpoint. I hate to fly, let's be clear. I'll do anything to drive. I hate to fly because I'm a control freak. I like to be in charge. I like to be in control of things. When you fly, what do you give up? Control. Who said luggage? Somebody said... Oh, you fly United, do you? Yeah, me too. The media, too, will persuade us of things that aren't really true. They drive me a little bit nuts. They're still talking about, you know, that pilot that landed the plane at the wrong airport. You know, that's happened 5 times now. And the last one was in Springfield, Missouri. Supposed to be in Springfield, landed in Branson. And by the way, barely got out of there because the runway was shorter. And they finally came out with this report. This was 5 years ago, and they came out with a report that said they finally got to the bottom of it. The pilot was on his computer, which is why he went to the wrong airport. Really? You buying that story? I don't think so. We know what was going on, don't we? How could you not know? The pilot's name? Captain Morgan. Okay, that's not his name. Wouldn't that have been a great story if that would have been his name? They're still talking about, the media's still talking about, it just drives me nuts, TSA pat-downs and how they're violating our personal rights. I've been flying forever. I've never seen anybody violated. And then I realized I can't really say that because I've never had a pat-down. So I thought, well, if I'm going to talk about this, I need to get a pat-down. So the other day, I got myself a pat-down. It's way easier than you think. Take your cell phone, drop it in your sock, walk through the metal detector. You get yourself a pat-down. This is what I found out. I liked it. I'm at the age now where static cling is a sexual experience. I liked it. In fact, I went through a second time. In fact, if you're ever flying out of Kansas City, I'm going to recommend that you go to gate 35, Terminal B, ask for Marilyn. She is awesome. Whole flying thing just drives me nuts. It really does. I got behind the other day a kid. He and I didn't have the same perception of piercing. I always say when I was growing up, because I argued with my parents, like every generation argues with their parents about something, music, clothes, whatever it is. And I said, by gosh, when I'm older, I'm not going to be belittling these kids and the things that they do. Well, I do, and I am. I sound just like my dad now, and my mom. But this kid really, he just had so much piercing. It looked like a tackle box had blown up in his face or something, like he had a serious fishing lure accident of some sort. Just metal, 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 you know. So I'm having to follow Hannibal Lecter. And he keeps setting off the metal detector, and there's only one, so he has to start de-piercing one piercing at a time. And I watched him remove the 7/16 bolt from his tongue. Okay, I couldn't let that go. So I looked at him and I said, dude. Yeah, I was just trying to connect. I said, why? Why would you do that? This is what he said to me. Because it was an opportunity for free expression. Okay, that is not what he said. What he said actually was, I don't have a clue what he said. I also got behind a guy that had a belt buckle the size of a hubcap. And now, having said that, I realize we probably got some hubcaps in the room. That was not a good thing to say. But I finally get on the plane, and then, you know, the whole thing just drives me nuts. You know, we sat on the tarmac the other day for 2 hours, and the pilot decided that he was going to do some public relations work. You ever seen that? So he comes out, and he starts going through the plane, you know, because we're sitting on the tarmac just waiting. He's going, thank you for flying with us. Sorry for the delay. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for flying with us. He's going up and down the aisle. He finally comes to me and he says, so tell me, where are you heading today? I'm going to flip that question back at you. Where are you heading? Because I'm kind of heading wherever you're heading. I mean, if I get to pick, we're going to go back to the Virgin Islands. I got some unfinished business back there. Folks, I could spend hours talking about this. But I have unknowingly done an observation over the course of the last 50 years. One airline gets it. One airline understands change. One airline said a simple question. Can we make it better? Why are we doing it that way? Can we make it better? Why are we doing it that way? Can we make it better? Why are we doing it that way? They were told when they started back in 1971 that to flip a plane around takes 45 minutes. Now, when I say flip a plane, I mean a plane comes into the jetway, hooks up. You deplane, service the plane, reboard, and then back up in the air. In 1971, the industry average was 45 minutes. In 2017, I don't have the 18 numbers yet. If you take Southwest Airlines out of the mix, guess what the industry average is? 45 minutes. Southwest in 2017 averaged 18. They turn a plane around in 18 minutes. They can do it in 10 if they have to. How do I know that? In 10 minutes, if you're going on to the next stop on Southwest, you're not getting off. In 10 minutes, you don't have enough time for them to do a through count, and then you get to the restroom and take care of business and get back to your seat before they take off. What am I saying? I've been in the restroom of a Southwest plane during takeoff. Find it interesting that a lot of you see that as humorous. So let me explain what that's like. You got your pants around your ankles. You're sitting at a 45-degree angle. You're going about 300 miles an hour to start with, and you got one thought going through your head, by the way. Wonder how much blue fluid is in this thing. Does that matter? So what? They flip a plane a little faster. In 2017, if they would have taken the 45 minutes instead of the 18, in other words, if they would have added 27 minutes to each one of their turnarounds, they would have needed three more 737-800 series aircraft to process the same number of flight. Have you priced a 737 lately? You think your equipment is expensive? Yeah, it matters. They were told, you've got to do food, you must do food, you have to do food. Everybody does food. It's a staple of air travel. That's what they were told when they started. Southwest went, you know, we've been thinking about this. We got a crazy idea. We think, we're not sure, but we think that if someone is hungry, their first thought is to go to a restaurant, not book a flight. Therefore, we're not going to do food. We're not. We're going to serve our passengers 6 stale peanuts, now 6 stale pretzels, and we will call it lunch, and they will be happy. Does that matter? I'll never forget this number. In 1987, American Airlines cut out the olives that they served on the salads in first class, and for the year, saved $42,000. 2 observations. Number 1, seriously thinking about becoming an olive farmer. Apparently, there's a margin. Secondly, there must be some costs associated with food. Yeah, there must be. Because you got the food and shrinkage, loss, people, time, equipment. Yeah. I could go on and on and on and on and on. They were the first ones that started hedging fuel contracts. They were the first ones to put the little flip up on the end of the wings so that the plane would fly more stable and it would save fuel. They were the first one to do electronic ticketing. They constantly said, how do we make this better? All the way down to their flight attendant. They realized there was a problem. Everybody got on a plane. No one listened to the flight instructions from the flight attendant. You never did you? I never did. Case for rapid change, camera pressure, mask drop from overhead car, place, stoke face, breathe normally, got one over here, exit over here, next over here, and seatbelt buckle. If you don't know how to buckle a seatbelt, you really shouldn't be flying, but nonetheless, nobody listened. Southwest knew that. They told the flight attendants, figure out a way to get people to listen. And the first Southwest flight I got on, it was different. It was unique. I'm reading my paper like I always had. Flight attendant came on and said, ladies and gentlemen, there may be 50 ways to leave your lover, but there's only 7 ways to leave this aircraft. What'd she say? Then she said, in case of a rapid change in cabin pressure, a mask will drop from the overhead compartment. Place it over your face and breathe normally. Then place it over the face of any children who are sitting next to you. Then place it over the face of any adults who are acting like children, which will be pretty much the entire plane. I looked around. Half the people doing the same thing. She said, take those personal belongings that you should have checked. Shove, pile, cram it into that overhead bin so that we can open it. It will fall on top of the obnoxious guy sitting in front of you. And now I look around the plane and they're all paying attention. Simple question. Were they talking about anything important? Oh, I don't know. Life and death. And for the first time, we listened. Why? It was different. It was unique. It was creative. And it was fun. When we landed, it was a rough landing. I'm going to be honest with you. We had, bam, bouncing down the runway. She quickly came on the intercom system and said, ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for that very rough landing, but it was not the fault of the pilot. It was not the fault of the flight engineer. It was not my fault. I'm just a flight attendant. I guess it was the asphalt. That's not my joke. That's her joke. I don't care if you like it or not. But let me ask a question. Is Southwest making money? And they've made money every year they've been in business, except the first year in 1971 when they had a few startup costs. Are they making money because they got a funny flight attendant? By itself, no. But that's their culture. They are challenged. Ask the question, why? Constantly. Folks, people get confused sometimes when I talk about the importance of change. They think I'm telling you, you got to change everything all the time. Just keep changing. Just change for the sake of change. Keep moving. Keep changing. No. I'm saying keep evaluating. Make sure it's still the best method, the best process, the best product. Keep moving. Keep morphing. Keep disrupting. Evaluate, evaluate, evaluate to see if you need to change. So what do we got to do? We got to get more creative, folks. We got to start practicing brainstorming. We've got to get more involved in educational sessions. That's why I'm so glad that you're here. You got to seek out information. You got to be willing to learn and grow. And as we get older, this gets harder and harder for us. I don't have to tell you that. We got to get more creative. You know what else we got to do? Lighten up. Did you know that your sense of humor and your sense of creativity are almost exactly the same? It's a sense of perspective. And I'm not saying one causes another. But if your sense of humor is keyed up, you're also very likely a very creative person. The most creative person I've ever worked with is also the funniest person I've ever worked with. And that was Robin Williams. God rest his soul. When you saw him on one of those talk shows, that's the way he was 24/7. His mind was going all the time. Whether you liked his style of humor or his substance of humor, it doesn't matter. You cannot debate the fact that mind was creative and it was rocking and rolling all the time. Your sense of humor and your sense of creativity are basically the same. That's why I look for this kind of stuff. I lied. I've got more PowerPoint. Okay. I was at a convention the other day. They had this hanging from the rafters. I stepped that off. That's a 22-foot banner, roughly. That hot dog's about 18 feet long. I don't know about you, but that's a hot dog eating contest I'd go to right there. I want to see that. Got this from a dry cleaner. You know, I see this and it makes me want to recite my favorite line from Dennis Miller. You know, sometime we do need to thin the herd. Let's just leave that warning off, okay? Look at the top right-hand corner. That's my grocery store. I like to ask every audience this question. How many of you, at any time in your life, as you were leaving the house, accidentally walked into your refrigerator? Anybody? No, never happened, but you got to put that warning there for some people, apparently. That's in California. They have to tell people out there. They're not really sure. If it's raining, it's possibility it's going to be wet. By the way, it's snowing outside. Could be cold. Who knew? You know, underneath that sign, it should be, this is called redundancy. I think the striped pole and the telephone pole is going to pretty much tell people that the sidewalk has ended. Fire's hot. In case you forgot, ice is cold. Ice is cold, hot, fire. I cannot keep this straight. I don't know. Got this at a hotel I was staying at. It's right next to the elevator. First of all, that tells you the kind of places I stay. Yep. You know what that sign really should say? Hey, idiot, don't step into a deep, dark hole. That's what that sign really should say. If the door doesn't open, don't go inside. I love this one, too. Library's closed. How long? Till it opens. Well, how long is it going to be open? Till it closes. Those are not little tiny Cracker Jack boxes. Those are actually peanuts. And here's my favorite one. I just got this the other day. I checked into a hotel, and this was sitting on the counter. I got free breakfast. Now, let me make sure I got this right. On weekends, weekdays, 6 to 9. Now, don't confuse that with the weekend when it's 6 to 9, because that's totally different. So if you show up to 6 to 9, that's not going to be the same as on just at 6. Pay attention to the sign. Love this sign. Got it in South Carolina. There's a restaurant down there. That's I had 4 cars lined up behind me going, what the heck are you doing? I said, I got to take a picture of that. Yeah. That so easily could have been me. Don't you know what he was thinking? Okay, I can make it, I can make it, I can make it, I can make it! No. I do this for one reason, just to see the different response between the men and the women. You know, the men are just laughing, going, oh my God, so funny. The women are going, oh, it's awful. Ladies, calm down, calm down. We will not give our dog dirty water. It's okay. It's all right. My buddy sent me this picture. I immediately sent him a text back. Who took the picture? How'd that conversation go? Hey, honey, come in here. I want you to see something. Bring your camera. No, we're good. I was at McDonald's the other day. I've been talking about this for years. I never actually got a picture of it, so I took a picture of it. This is a drive-through at McDonald's. As you can see, they honor competitors' coupons, but look at the blue sign, the little blue sign. Braille at the drive-through. You can get a Braille menu or a picture menu. Braille is the one that really jumps out. When's the last time you saw Stevie Wonder going through the drive-through? Is it just me too? The other thing that annoys me with those places, they spend $1 gazillion on storefront advertising and market development and products and whatever, and they refuse to spend more than 29 cents on the intercom at the drive-through? Because you pull through there and what are you greeted with? You have no idea what they said. You want to get even? This is what you do. When you pull through that drive-thru and you're greeted with, help you? Cup your hand, get real close, and do this. Yeah, I'd like to order. I'd like 16 no, wait a minute. Make that a 4 and some carrot cake. I did this 2 weeks ago. The lady inside said, that'll be $5.79. Pull through, please. What did I order? Here's what I'm really saying. We have done a terrific job. Earlier when I said we failed, I didn't mean that to set anybody back. I just want to remind you that the job's not done. And that's why I'm glad you're here. And maybe the best way to sum this up is one of my greatest and famous and just favorite fables. Listen closely. It's a riddle. 5 frogs sat on a log. 3 decided to jump. How many are left? And the answer is 5. 3 decided to jump. Didn't say they jumped. There are times when I could have said that was a riddle or a metaphor for us. We know we have to do more. We know we have to talk more. We know we have to communicate more. We know we have to change. We know we got to get current. We got to update. But with the issue of change, one of the best metaphors is this. You have an intellectual acceptance, but a gut resistance. You know you have to change right here. Don't want to. So what am I saying? Let's keep doing what we're doing. Keep fighting and pushing ahead. I'm going to guess there's some people in this room that survived the 80s. You know what I'm talking about? We keep pushing. We keep getting smarter. We keep getting better. In fact, okay, you're starting to see a theme here, I think. I don't want you to all of a sudden upset the apple cart because we're on the right path. I just want us to go a little faster. In fact, one of the greatest books out there on change is called, It's Not the Big That Eats the Small, It's the Fast That Eats the Slow. And so we have to move. We have to accelerate through the curve. That's a great racing technique if you've ever talked to anybody that races cars. Otherwise, everybody's going to pass us on each side. Don't make silly decisions. Just for the sake of change, don't do it. Just for change, don't do it. You do that, things can go wrong. You know, I can't show that slide in a lot of places where I speak, so thank you for letting me do that. Folks, if you want to get in touch with me, that's how you do it. I've got a newsletter that I kick out. I'm not selling nothing, I'm not selling nothing, I'm not selling nothing. But every 6 weeks or so, I'll have something that'll come out. It'll take you about 1.5 minutes to read it. I want you to sign up for that. It's free, totally free, totally free. Unsubscribe whenever you want. You know what I call this? Continuing education. Sign up for that if you can. And let's all dance. And finally, I know that a lot of people come to these things and they want something that will put money in their pocket, and hopefully you're going to see something down on the exhibitor floor to do that, but I'm going to pass along something that I know for sure immediately will do that. Immediately. I'm going to take my last 30 seconds and talk about Amway. I'm kidding. My sister's an Amway dealer. She hates that joke. She absolutely hates that joke, but it's just a joke. Here's a couple things I'm going to give you that will make a difference in your life, I guarantee you. Number one, this is so, so important. Never, never, never have a heart attack while you're playing charades. Particularly if you're playing with a bad guesser. That's going to be a very serious situation. Number two, not too long ago, I'm doing some paperwork, and I raced through my paperwork just like I always do. Take these letters, throw them in the mailbox, flip up the flag, done! Did I double check those letters before I put them in the mailbox? Not what I do. One of the letters didn't get a stamp on it. It stuck between all the letters that have stamps. And lo and behold, the letter that came back to me, why did that letter come back to me without the stamp? Postage was due, right? How'd they know where to send it? My name and address was in the upper left-hand corner. I got to thinking, this is going to save you a lot of money. This is very creative. Next time you want to mail a letter, wherever you want to mail it to, you put that name and address in the upper left-hand corner. Put your name and address right in the middle. Folks, I have not bought a postage stamp in 12 years. Folks, you have a terrific day lined up for you. You really do. You've got a lot of great sessions that you can go to. I want you to check your program for that. We are now going to take a 30-minute break. I want you to go to that exhibit area, look at those exhibitors. Without them, this does not happen. So thank them, get a refreshment down there, and then at 10:15 is when we start our breakout sessions. And you've got several options that you can go to. The Corn Growers Association annual meeting is going to be in the lower level, well, most of them are, and that's going to be in the Bison Theater. The DNT or DTN weather program is going to be in room 101. The Palmer Amaranth panel is going to be in room 104. And the international trade discussion is going to be right here in this room at 10:15. So go to those breakout sessions at 10:15. At 11:15, we will all come back in here for a great session on hot topics. It's going to be hosted by Michelle Rook. Also, too, if you haven't got enough or don't think you can get enough today, there's going to be some other opportunities for you coming up soon. The Soybean See for Yourself trip to Portland, Oregon is still open for people to sign up, and they're only taking 15, but if you want more information on this, go to the website ndsoybean.org, ndsoybean.org. Clean up after yourself. Enjoy the balance of the day. Enjoy this break and get to your breakout sessions at 10:15. You've been a great audience. We'll see you soon.